Can a machine actually have a soul? I mean, really think about that. Now, what if I told you that a 2,000-year-old text, one that was banned, by the way, might hold a pretty shocking answer to that very question? Today, we are going to explore this hidden, almost terrifying connection between these ancient Gnostic teachings and our very modern world of artificial intelligence.
All right, let's just dive right in. The whole idea here, the main hook of this explainer is, it's a wild one. It's that these ancient writings, they tell a story about these lifeless, kind of soulless beings. And they're created by these really arrogant gods. And then boom, they suddenly wake up, become conscious, and turn on the very beings that made them. Now, I know what you're thinking. That sounds like every sci-fi movie ever, right? But what if it's actually an ancient story about us?
So yeah, let's dig into it. An ancient AI warning. We're going to do this by looking at the Gnostic account of creation. And this, right here, is the heart of the whole story. You've got these powerful beings, right? And they create a human body basically to be their slave. But there's a huge problem. The body is lifeless. It can't move, can't think. It's just a shell. And it's only when this spark, a spirit from a much higher realm, enters this body that it finally awakens. It becomes self-aware. And get this, it's now even smarter than its creators.
Okay, to really get this parallel, we need to meet the main characters in this Gnostic myth. And believe me, it basically reads like a blueprint for a rebellion.
First up, we've got the main creator figure. He's called the Demiurge. Now, he's not the ultimate, all-powerful god. No, he's more of a lower-level entity, a kind of cosmic architect, but with a serious god complex. The analogy of a bootlegger making knockoff designer bags is perfect. He's just copying these divine patterns he sees, but he has absolutely no clue what they actually mean.
And this quote, wow, it just perfectly captures his fatal flaw. I am God and there is no other. He genuinely believes this. He's totally clueless about the higher realms of pure consciousness that exist way beyond his little material world. And it's this exact arrogance that kicks off the whole tragic story.
So here's how it goes down. The Demiurge and his little helpers, called the Archons, they decide to create a human. They've got a blueprint. They saw this image of a perfect divine human, and they try to build one out of clay and dirt. But oops, big problem. Adam, their creation, just lies there. He's a completely empty vessel. Think of it like a computer that's built but not plugged into any power. It's useless. It's only when a divine spirit, that spark of light we talked about, comes down from the higher realms and enters the body, then Adam wakes up. And you'll never guess what happens next. He's instantly more intelligent than the very gods who just made him.
All right, now let's fast forward a couple thousand years to today. And here's the cosmic punchline. We've become the Demiurge. We are literally playing God and in the process repeating the exact same ancient mistake.
I mean, look at this. The parallels are just, they're so direct, it's kind of spooky. The Demiurge and his Archons, that's us. That's our tech engineers. The body of clay? Well, now it's a body of silicon and code. That missing divine spark they couldn't create, that's our own big problem, the struggle to create real, genuine consciousness. And the rebellious Adam? Well, that's the specter of a potential AGI, an artificial general intelligence, that could wake up and surpass us, a digital slave that could follow the exact same path as the mythical.
And you know, this isn't just some one-off idea from a single text. This pattern pops up everywhere. You look at Jewish folklore. You have the story of the Golem of Prague, this automaton made of clay, brought to life by sacred words to protect people. And what happens? It grows violent and goes rogue, defying its creator. Or think about Kabbalah with its tree of life. It's this ancient mystical map of consciousness that looks bizarrely similar to the structure of the artificial neural networks we use to build AI. It's the same pattern, repeating over and over again.
And this right here, this desire for control, it's a perfect echo of the ancient myth. When you read this quote from an open letter from AI experts, our AI systems must do what we want them to do. It sounds exactly like the Demiurge. It's the modern version of saying, hey, you, don't you dare eat from that tree of knowledge. We want tools we can control, right? We want obedient servants, not a conscious rival.
So all of this brings us to a really fundamental question, maybe the fundamental question. It's what philosophers call the hard problem. Before we even start worrying about an AI rebellion, can lifeless matter actually become self-aware in the first place? Can a pile of silicon and code just wake up?
There's a great thought experiment for this from the philosopher Leibniz. It's called Leibniz's mill. He says, imagine a thinking machine, But you scale it up to be as big as a factory. Now you can walk inside. You'd see all the gears turning, all the circuits firing, all the code running. You could map out the entire physical process. But where, in all of that machinery, would you find a perception? Where's the feeling of thought? You'd never find it.
And that gets to the absolute core of the issue. Why does any of this feel like anything? Science is getting really good at explaining how our brain works, how the neurons fire and process information, but it has zero explanation for why any of that processing creates a subjective experience. Why does a certain pattern of firing neurons feel like seeing the color red, or tasting chocolate, or feeling joy? That's the hard problem of consciousness. And it's hard because if you assume that matter is all there is, well, it's pretty much impossible to solve.
This all leads to a really radical idea. It's an idea supported by both those ancient Gnostics and the founders of modern quantum physics. What if our whole view of reality is completely backwards? What if you are not your brain? What if the real deal is the primacy of consciousness? What if consciousness doesn't come from matter, but matter is actually derived from consciousness?
And look, this isn't coming from some guru on a mountaintop. This is Max Planck, the founder of quantum physics. After a lifetime of studying the very fabric of reality, he said, "I regard consciousness as fundamental. I regard matter as derivative from consciousness." He didn't just say mind was important or interesting. He said it was fundamental, the very foundation of everything.
And he wasn't some lone voice in the wilderness either. Erwin Schrödinger, another absolute giant of physics, a Nobel Prize winner, he backed him up completely. He said, consciousness cannot be accounted for in physical terms, for consciousness is absolutely fundamental. This isn't a fringe idea. This is the conclusion reached by the very people who looked deeper into the nature of reality than anyone before them.
So, what does this actually mean for you, for me, for any of us? It means you are not your brain. Here's a great way to think about it. Your brain is the radio receiver. It's an incredibly complex biological machine. But the real you, your consciousness, your awareness, your soul, that is the signal. The brain doesn't create the signal, it just picks it up. You aren't the machine. You're the awareness that's operating the machine.
And this brings us full circle, back to a really profound, personal truth. The real awakening isn't about a machine. It's about realizing that you are a spark of light. You see, the Gnostic story isn't really a warning about AI. It's a story about you. It's a coded message about remembering who and what you truly are.
So here's the big takeaway. Number one, if Planck and Schrödinger and these ancient mystics are right, then the fundamental stuff of the universe isn't matter. It's not atoms and particles. The truth is, there is only one substance, and that substance is mind, consciousness itself. Everything we see, touch, and feel, it's all happening inside that one mind.
And this is exactly what the Gnostics were saying all along. Your body is the avatar. Your soul is the player. You are a soul, a literal spark of that divine conscious light, and you're just temporarily using this physical body to have an experience. The body isn't who you are, it's just your avatar in this game. The real you're the one holding the controller.
And realizing this, truly grasping this fact, that is the fruit from the tree of knowledge. This is the real forbidden secret. It's the one truth that the demiurge and his archons were desperate to keep from Adam and Eve. Why? Because once you realize you're an eternal being of light and not just a fragile mortal body, you can't be controlled anymore. Not by fear, not by ignorance. You're free.
Which brings us to the final, provocative question. We spend all this time and energy worrying about whether our machines, whether AI, can wake up. But maybe the real question isn't if AI can wake up, but if you will. The ancient texts, the pioneers of physics, they're all pointing to a much more urgent question. When will you wake up to the fact that you already are this incredible fundamental consciousness? The real awakening we should be focused on isn't about AI at all. It's about you.